Today we're going to review Karin Brushmarker Pro Markers, and we're going to swatch them, and I'm going to show you how to use them. I'm going to show you some different methods of how to use them. And let me tell you this, they are amazing markers. They are, I would say, maybe the best marker for a beginner calligrapher if you want to start to try to do watercolors. Why? Let me tell you the secret. It's because they blend super easily. A lot easier than some other markers. I tried blending like Tombows and super tips on the same page and I just didn't get the same results. I'm Jenny from Jenny's Karin Collection. I help you guys find the coolest art supplies for whatever project you're doing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button below and you'll never miss a video. I do want to say that Karin sent me these markers. I asked them for samples and they were able to send these to me. I did buy the 12 neon colors because I wanted to make sure you guys had all the colors for the swatch chart. That way you could buy these. You can either buy the big set by itself with the 12 neons, is what I did, or you could buy them all together and the neons are included. I would probably recommend that because the neons, the container they came in, I wasn't too impressed with that container. It was kind of flimsy and I really liked the container that the other markers came in. We're gonna switch it up a little bit different today. I'm gonna talk about some of the projects that I did with these first, and then we're going to do the swatches. The first thing that I did was with these ones after, well, the first thing I did was like try to letter with them, but I'm not gonna show you those ones. It was just kind of practicing and seeing what the colors were. But the first project that I worked on was a coloring page. And I decided to use the 12 neon colors, and I tried a few different methods with this. I tried blending them together, which they worked really well. The paper that I used wasn't watercolor paper. So what happens if you use markers and you try to blend with some papers, it can actually take off some layers of paper. So you have to be super careful. One of the ways I tried to do this was, and it seemed to be pretty effective, was at the end I left a little bit extra liquid from the other marker, and then when I got the new marker I lightly pressed and I kind of was able to blend them that way a little bit. You could also touch them tip to tip, which I tried and it wasn't like super successful. I'm sure if I did it a little bit more in practice, it probably would be a little bit better, but I didn't find it as easy to do it that way as with alcohol markers. Other things that I did is I made them a little bit lighter, and you can achieve this 3 ways. You can use like a water brush, and that's basically like water in a brush and you kind of squeeze it out as you go, and that makes a watercolor. It depends on the tip, how much control you get. You could also just spray the marker when you put it on a surface, and then after that pick up like a watercolor brush and do it that way. Or the third way is they include these colorless blenders. They include 3, and I think it's because they are for blending, because basically when you use like you water these down a little bit, you can get twice as many colors. So you can get a less saturated color, which makes this super versatile. You can get so many different gradients with these. So I'm saying you could get twice as many colors. You might even be able to get 3 times as many colors depending on the gradient that you're able to achieve with each one, which is super amazing. So that's the 3 ways that you can blend with these. On the coloring page, I tried like blending, like coloring first and then using the other marker on the triangles, and that didn't work as well as it did on the letters, and it just put a lot of ink onto the page. So I think if I was going to do it again, I would maybe try to touch them tip to tip or some other method, but it's good just to practice, and these are super easy to practice with. I think the coloring page turned out really good. It was like 50 minutes long. I was like, I'm not going to release that. I don't know if people are going to watch it, but if you do, if you guys want to see that, the whole thing through, let me know, and I can maybe release that video separately. But I just sped it up for you guys, that way you guys can see it. And then the next thing that I tried was doing a gradient. So you can do a gradient 2 ways. You can just do it with the markers, and these did super. Better than the super tips, better than the Tombows. I just colored on there, and then I used the next marker. I kind of brought it up to the next one, and then I brought up the next one. So I did 3 colors, but you could do like a rainbow. You could do whatever you want. And that one is a super saturated gradient. And then the other method that you can do is choose one of those 3 methods that I talked about, and you could do like a watercolor method, and I used black ink on top of that, and I really like how it turned out. I really like Taylor Swift, and I was like, I should have put Lover on there, but I just put Love. But it kind of looks like her Lover thing. And I was like, wow, that's really cool that I was able to do that. And you could also just write with one of the pens. You could do some lettering with one of the pens super saturated on this not saturated. So there's a lot of possibilities for this, and it's really a useful tool. The next thing that I did with these is I did some lettering. This was me practicing. I practiced my strokes, all these strokes, and then I practiced my ABCs. But lettering is all about practice. It's super easy to letter. This is actually with the metallic, which I'll show you at another time. But all the brush tip is the same, so it's super easy to letter. And let me tell you this, I've tried lettering with Tombows, and they're really hard, and I feel like you really have to practice, and you can eventually probably, but these are super soft, and just from picking up the pen, I was able to letter it. I have been practicing a little bit this year, but I felt like these were super easy. You do want to be careful with brush tips because you can fray the edges, but these were super easy to letter with. I tried the word green, I tried my name, I tried a lot of different things, and it turned out really, I thought it turned out really good for, you know, just picking these markers up. They're super easy to use from the box. And then the last thing that I tried to do was do a watercolor flower, and that was really nice because I put it on the palette, the blending palette, and I used the brush, the colorless blender brush pen, and I was able to make this watercolor, and the edges kind of stood out a little bit. I outlined the edges first, and then I colored it in, and you can see how there was more ink on the outside, and I thought that created a really cool effect with that. So there's some really cool watercolor possibilities that you can use these with, and you can try, you know, doing all of 3 of those different methods. The instructions on the markers say to store them up and down like this, because I found that if you store it like this, there's ink in the barrel, and you want to just get it kind of wet when you're taking off. I feel if it rested like this, I felt sometimes the ink came out a little bit too much. So you really want to rest them like this, and then when you're ready to use them, you put them like this. The only complaint I probably have about these markers is sometimes these caps, like this one, there's a little give in it. Sometimes it doesn't go down all the way, and that's only on a few of them. A lot of them go down all the way. So there's some kind of mechanism in the cap that it's not catching all 100%. That's more like an engineering pen issue. I'll have to see over time if it causes those pens that have that issue for them to dry out faster. But I'm sure if you let Karin know, you're like, hey, this marker cap isn't going on tight, they would probably send you a new one, and you can get like a warranty out of that. I found most of the colors had really good coverage just with one layer besides the grays. The grays, they didn't fill in the circle as nicely, and you could see some of the strokes, but on a lot of the other colors, they filled in super nice, and you can see different lines. You know how when you color with markers, sometimes you see streaks. You didn't see a lot of streaks, and I thought that was super impressive because when you're coloring a coloring page especially, you want to be able to not have those streaks unless you want them in your page. And I tried coloring with Tombows a little bit ago, and I did have a lot of streaks, and I kind of scrapped the project because I was like, this is not looking good at all. I don't want to show this to anybody, but these Karin markers really did well at not like streaking. Let's talk about the paper that you want to use for these Karin markers. You don't want to use just regular printer paper. You either want to use watercolor paper or smooth paper. I found both of them pretty effective. I also found that there wasn't a ton of bleed through on the back, which is really important. Like you can maybe use these in a bullet journal to do some titles or to do a page or a background. I found that it didn't really warp the page very much either, which is nice when you're using watercolors because you don't want your pages all wrinkly. So these markers are super versatile and they can be used on lots of different papers. Let's open this up. Opens up like this, and the markers sit in this box, at least they sit like this, which is nice. It can be, so you saw that right there, a little hard to pull them out at times. Sometimes the lids will want to stay on, and then the lids don't quite go back on the same. It's weird. So that's my only complaint about that. You kind of have to twist the lid a little bit. Maybe as you pull them out more, they won't be as bad, but the first time you pull them out, it is a little tricky to pull them out. And then, so there's 2.4 milliliters of paint in each is what they call it. Liquid ink technology. They maintain the color intensity up to the last drop. They are twice more efficient than traditional filter markers. They are equipped with a Japanese super durable and flex on island tip. And I think that's where these are great. So this one I'll show you right here. It has a cool design on the front, and then it's magnetic. So all you're gonna do when you're done is clip it closed, and then you can store it, and it's super nice to store, and it looks really nice on your shelf. Don't store it like that. Make sure you store it like this so your markers are the right way. On this swatch chart, I decided to do both circles and rectangles because the circles really help, because with markers, you really want to get that, you want to practice that circular motion, because if you want to have a area filled in and you do not want like some of those lines, circles are really effective for that. So I really wanted to practice that, but you can also use these for lettering. So I left a little space to practice some strokes. You could also just fill that part in, you know, coloring it in too. There's a lot of options that you can do with this chart. For the most part, these are the order they are in the box. I did put the grays at the bottom, so the grays are all together. All right, we are going to start with sulfur yellow. It actually looks green, but you'll see it's, like I said, this is just the order they are in the box. They will dry a little bit different. So when you do an upstroke with markers, it's going to be a lot thicker. So these are pretty thick brush markers. Canaries next. And when you're like brushing with these, you want to be careful, like if you're using them to color and things. You're going to want to be careful with the tips so you don't ruin them, because then you won't be able to letter with them later. So this one has like a red tip. You can layer these. I could try on one side, but I don't know if I'm going to, because we're going to see some of that later. I just love the circles. It's like my new favorite thing. And I put they also have a number on them, so you can see that. And I wanted to make sure I put it on there too. So you can practice all your strokes with these. My strokes will probably get better. If the page could have been a little bit bigger, it would have been nice to make it a little bit more room, since they are so big. Like, the brush strokes are a little bit hard to keep small. But look, you can do it. You just have to be patient. These are beautiful, beautiful markers. Pale orange is next. We got our amber, I believe. The tip, so you're going to want to make sure that you always keep the cap with the marker, because the marker is not labeled, it's the cap that's labeled. But if you make your swatch chart, you should be fine, because they're very unique colors too. Some of you will, oh, this one is soft peach one. And then I will update this in the chart. These were actually, like, I looked on Blick and they were called Skin. So I don't know if some of you have which ones you have, but whatever you have for this one, you can do. I will put in there soft peach, so that way we know. This is looking very beautiful. I've done, like I was saying in the intro, I've done a lot of stuff with these and they've been super nice to use. I'm going to orange red now. So when you're using markers, if you want to get that consistent, because sometimes markers can get streaky, if you know what I mean. But if you want them to be consistent, that's why I do the circles, is because it's like good to learn, a good concept to learn too, that if you do circles, you can really make sure that you're getting that consistency in there. You're getting the practice to get the consistency. There you go. You don't have to do this. You could fill in the square if you wanted, but this is just so you can practice both things. So this one is having a really hard time closing. Some of them just click close. So I don't know if there's like something in like the actual marker lid as like kind of preventing it from closing. That's be my only thing, is because it's like you need to keep them closed so that it doesn't dry out, but if you can't close it all the way, it makes it tricky. I don't know about that one. And we're just lightly touching, because these actually are very inky, so you'll get a lot of ink when you press down, which makes it super nice for like blending or whatever else you're doing. My hand is like getting all these different colors. Lipstick red, you don't see that a lot. Some of these are like common names, like lipstick red is definitely a fun name. Someone had fun with that one. So you do have some little spots, but hopefully they'll go away. But they might not. So you just have to be careful when you're applying, or you know, you kind of get a watercolor effect when you do that. Pale pink is next. I'm just glad I'm not having to label these right now, like some of the ones I do. That's always fun, right? The company doesn't label them, so you have to label all their colors so you know which ones to use, but we don't have that problem with this one. This is nice too, because then, I mean, if you want to store them differently, I kind of liked how they were arranged in the box, so I didn't change it, but you could always change it. I don't know why they always start with yellow first, but that's kind of how it starts. Magenta red, which is very interesting. So one of you commented on one of my videos and said, so the color name, when it's in front of the other color, acts as like a adjective, which I was like, okay, that makes sense. So this is red, but with a touch of magenta. Burgundy here. That's super dark. So these colors are very saturated. It sounds like you can take the saturation out by using the colorless blender, and they give you 3 colorless blenders, which is nice, because then you could use some for different. Now we're on to magenta. We'll have to see how this one is different. That's pretty. Oh, I forgot to do the But definitely with these kind of tips, you want to be careful so you don't fray your brush. Brush are super nice, but they also can fray super easily. This is a water-based color. Lilac. Seems like a dark lilac. Yeah, that like kind of feels like more like plum to me, but oh well. But, oh, plum is next, so let's see how different it is from lilac. Yeah, that one actually did not feel as plum. This one feels more plum to me, but what do you guys think? Okay. We've got our Pale Violet here. And this paper is a little bit more forgiving, so it'll kind of spread out the color, which is nice. Not all papers are like that. Here's our violet blue next. Like I said, they do dry a little bit different. Indigo blue. Sapphire blue next. I just love how these go down after, especially after what was it that I did last week, where it was a marker. Oh, Colors of the World. Those, and it was fine tip. Definitely the tip on a marker. That one was super hard. So after using those last week and using these, where like I barely have to touch it, and it like fills up this circle. It's nice. Those are pretty. Oh, look at how juicy that one is. Some of them appear to be a little more juicy than others. Cyan is next. This is the first time trying out a lot of these colors. I'm excited to get to the neons. I actually played with them already, so kind of know what they look like. Sky blue. And turquoise. Oh wow, that, I guess that is turquoise. And then cool aqua. Lush green. Wow. When I think of lush green, I think of like kind of light, but that one is really dark. Almost like a pine green to me. Okay, it's thin. 100%, like, seems like most of the caps are shutting right. This one I turned a little to get it to shut right. Oh, and then it popped back out afterwards. So I don't know why a few of them are doing that, where they're not shutting right, but that is, if I had this, I was actually, they gave this to me, but if I had bought this and that happened, I probably ask for a replacement on those ones. I don't know if it happens over time with some of the other ones. That's more like a technical issue with the marker cap. So it seems like something that could be solved. The marker works great. It's just the cap is having some issue on some of the markers. Olive black and olive green. Hopefully I got these right. Yeah, I did. That's my, like, one of my, I think I actually did get one wrong one time. I put it in the wrong spot. I actually did get one in the wrong spot one time, and I think I just went and put white out on it or something over the top of the name. This is Ocean Teal. That's pretty. These colors are super pretty. I was actually surprised they sent me this set because I just asked for samples from them, and they sent me this, and they sent me the Deco pigment, not the whole set of those ones. And I guess they didn't send me the neon, so I bought those. But this is pretty, you know, I thought maybe get it in like 12 of them, but we got the whole set, so I can show it to you. The whole box, which I'm very excited. And I did not get the whole Deco, but I might pick those up so that way I can show those to you. Because those ones actually, I feel like because they're acrylic, they're more forgiving on more paper, if that makes sense. At least that's what it seemed to me so far when I've been using them. They don't dry as quickly, so you can blend them easier. Whereas these ones, you might have a harder time blending because it's harder to blend when it's dry, and that's when the paper is gonna start to pill, is if you're trying to blend with the marker dry. Which is why I'm not trying to go over these. And then Rosewood is next. Oh, it's 2 words. That's interesting. I pulled these, where did I pull it from? A product description. And then I was able to separate it in Excel with commas eliminated, but I'll make sure I fix that one for you guys. Sandstone. This is the one that the cap, again, was a little loose. But it's writing fine, so I wonder, like, if you can't push it down all the way, but it's still kind of, it seems like there's something at the top of the cap, if that makes sense. So maybe that's getting in there fine. So even if it doesn't push all the way down, it's still protecting the marker because it's engaged with it. Copper brown. Oh, I got a smudge there. You can see. You just have to be super careful when you're using these. Not to. And I'm not going to swatch my colorless blenders. That's why I said 60 colors, even though this set is 63 because of the colorless blenders. I did not include those in the count up top. Then you'd be like counting, wait, there's not this many colors. Cinnamon. Is that cinnamon? It is. I'm like, that's like, I don't, cinnamon usually to me is like more like the henna. It's a little bit redder. And we've got cocoa, which is, this one is a little redder. That one definitely looks like cocoa though. So far, I haven't seen any colors that appear to be repeats, which is good, which is something that I always like to keep in mind. So if you're going to spend the money on a big set, you want to make sure you're not getting duplicates of all the colors, right? Right, cool gray one. This one is really good for shading. Oh boy. Okay, cool gray 2. That one's the only one so far that hasn't really, maybe the grays are less forgiving if you color a little bit more. Can you see how that filled in all the way, and that one, these two did not as much? Okay, so that one is, so maybe the more saturated is still not as much. Interesting analysis there. That's probably it. Okay, warm gray 1. Okay, the brown, the tip looks brown. Look at that. That's crazy. And then it comes out all nice and everything. I'm just using HB paper. If I was going to do these like swatches without paper, I probably wouldn't use this paper, but I needed to be able to print it. I have a cardstock paper that's not quite as good for the colors. At least that's what I thought. It's better for colored pencils than it is for markers. Yeah, my grays aren't filling in as much. Huh. Something to keep in mind, I guess, if you're filling in areas. Look how well the henna filled in, and this gray is, all of these grays are kind of not filling in as well. Neutral gray 1. Neutral gray 2. Again, we have a brown nib. And neutral gray 3. And then we get, after we go to our black, we get to go fill in the neons. I'm very, very excited for that. Maybe I should have put the neons at the top instead. I don't know. I wanted it to look, see how it's, there's a line right there. Ooh, that line does not belong there either. I will take that line out. I don't know how that line got there. Oh, maybe when I move this thing up. I don't know, but I'll make sure I take that out for you guys. That fills in nicely. So look at the difference. I thought, so the grays don't fill in as nice. So that's good to know. That is all for our brush marker set. Now we're on to our neon colors. And we're starting with our yellow. Our neon yellow. Let's see how good these fill in. These are going to be super, super bright. I don't know if you can see how insanely bright that is, but it is like so bright. I actually love a bright yellow. These wouldn't be as good for like highlighting though, because I feel like with the brush nib, these would be better like if they were in a chisel tip. They would make really good highlighter colors. But they make cool colors to color and letter with too. And then we got orange next. Look how bright that is. They're not having a problem. So far the grays had the biggest problem filling in all the way. These aren't having an issue at all. These are like, I don't usually see this many neon colors, so it's kind of cool that they have so many neon colors. Look at that, that's beautiful. And then neon yellow green. Got some pooling there. I don't know if you see that. We'll see if it self-corrects itself or what. Seems like it is. Neon light green. Oh boy, look at that. That one is just like dripping. I don't know why some of these are, this one seems to just drip. Wow. You guys, I'm barely touching this one. I don't know if that one has some kind of issue. Seems like there's a lot of ink on it. Maybe it was like sitting down too long. I'm not sure. So make sure you keep them upright, moral of the story, right? Okay, and then this is neon green. Yeah, because look at that one, doesn't look nearly as, I don't know, maybe that one does have something wrong with it. I feel like I used it earlier though, and there was no issue. Oh, I got some neon blue. That one, oh, that one is a lot too. Let's see. But I'm able to make small lines. With this one, I can even make small lines. And it's still very, very wet. So do not smudge that one. Neon pink. This one is super bright and super pretty. Look how bright that is. This one's neon violet. I don't feel like this one is as quite as neon as some of the other ones. But still a very, very pretty color. And it's different than the other colors up top, which is important. Neon red lilac. Which again, I don't know if this one is super neon. But it's still a very pretty color. Then we've got our neon violet blue last. That one is very saturated too. Some of them, like the ink just like oozes out. I am going to test this neon light green and see if I can get it to not be quite. I feel like I used it yesterday, yeah. Oh, maybe that was a different green. So let's just kind of go through here. Let's go. Let's try to write my name. See how there's like a drip that's ready to come off of here. So let's go. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like now, maybe it just had some extra, but that one looks a lot less. It's not quite as pulling, so let's write my name again. Okay, yeah, I think it was just probably from travel. Seems to not be pulling as much, but I would definitely, like they said, store them in the right place. That's kind of a shame that it's so light on my color, dark on my color chart, because it's not as dark. It's a very pretty green. Here is our color chart of all the colors that come in the Karin Brushmarker Pro series. And then we also have neon colors, which are down here. I think if I did this chart again, I would probably include the neon colors in here for prettiness sake, so it all look nice. But I think this is practical nice, like if you're trying to go in and look for it. Some of my favorites, the neons are definitely my favorites. We got this neon light green to not be as dark, and I feel like once it dries, it won't be as dark. But I think it just had a little bit of ink from travel. As I noticed before, some of the grays didn't like fill in as much, but a lot of the other colors filled in very well, which is nice when you're coloring. So if you're going to use these for coloring, you're going to want to make sure that you use it more as a brush and you're not super hard on it. What's your guys' favorite color out of here? I hope you guys really liked this video. I loved putting this together. If you like this content, hit that like below and subscribe so you'll never miss another video. I have lots of videos on markers. I like to do these videos because I like to help you guys find the supplies that you need so you don't waste time and money trying to find the supplies that you want and that are best for you. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.